Dwight Waldo's Administrative State. That means it's his famous work. Fundamental challenge to orthodox premises of administration. So how should you write the intro first? Intro part. Because the question is about whom? Woodrow Wilson and his administrative state. First write that. Woodrow Wilson is, Dwight Waldo. Dwight Waldo is considered as, intro part, Dwight Waldo is considered as the most influential or one of the most influential. Dwight Waldo is considered as one of the most influential public administration scholars. He is considered as one of the most influential public administration scholars of 20th century. One of the most influential public administration scholars of 20th century. Public administration scholars of the 20th century. Fine. So what did he focus on? He was the head of both. Which one? Yeah, he was the head of both Minnow-Brook 1 in 1968 and Minnow-Brook 2 in 1988. Both Minnow-Brook 1 in 1968 and Minnow-Brook 2 in 1988. His famous works include Public Administration in Times of Turbulence. Public Administration in Times of Turbulence, and the same one, Administrative State. And Administrative State. Fine. No, that is the context. Now you write. Right from the times of Woodrow Wilson. Right from times of Woodrow Wilson. Right from the times of Woodrow Wilson. Right from the times of Woodrow Wilson, traditional public administration was based on. Even Weber also. Traditional public administration was based on certain premises, certain core aspects. Was based on certain core aspects like what? Politics administration dichotomy. Like politics administration dichotomy. Universal character of administration. Universal character of administration. Signs of administration. Signs of administration, etc. Fine, but what did Waldo do? However, Dwight Waldo rejected these orthodox ideas. Dwight Waldo rejected these orthodox premises. If you want to use the same keyword of the question, Dwight Waldo rejected these orthodox premises. Now you explain that one after the other. First one, according to him, Wilson's politics administration dichotomy is very rigid. According to him, Wilson's politics administration dichotomy is very rigid and practically not applicable, practically not relevant. Is very rigid, practically not relevant. What is the simple reason for it? This is because practically not relevant. This is because administrators also take part in the policy formulation, especially at the top level. Administrators also take part in policy formulation, especially at the top level. Means top level bureaucrats, secretaries, joint secretaries, additional secretaries, especially at the top level. Fine. And what they are also involved in, what you can say, politics, administration. Implementation, that is more than obvious, but dichotomy aspects you have to reject. Policy formulation, especially at the top level. Okay, so clarify that. With the evolution of public policy as a separate discipline or as a separate focus, separate paradigm, with the evolution of public policy as a separate paradigm of public administration, with the evolution of public policy as a separate paradigm of public administration, in bracket Nicholas Henry, according to Nicholas Henry. Evolution of public policy as a separate paradigm of public administration according to Nicholas Henry, this dichotomy is no longer relevant. This dichotomy is no longer relevant. This dichotomy is no longer relevant. That is one idea rejected. Second idea, according to Waldo, administration cannot be considered as a pure science. According to Dwight Waldo, administration cannot be considered as a pure science. Administration cannot be considered as a pure science. What is the reason for this? This is because it deals with subjective aspects like human behavior. It deals with subjective aspects like human behavior which cannot be studied. It deals with subjective aspects like human behavior which cannot be studied with a positivist approach. Remember, positivist means what? Whichever it can be proved, laboratory studies, which cannot be studied in a positivist approach. And what did he tell? According to him, administration is a combination of science and art. According to him, administration is a combination of science and art. It is a combination of science and art. Then Waldo rejected the universal aspect of administration. He rejected the universal aspect of administration. And what he criticized it as? He criticized it as an ethnocentric approach. The diversity of developing countries, makes the principles of classical theory or traditional administration. Diversity of the developing countries makes the principles of traditional administration irrelevant, or you can say makes it limited in application, makes it irrelevant. Okay, the principles of traditional administration as irrelevant. Right. So that another orthodox premises how he criticized that. Okay. Then what he also wanted, he also criticized the core focus of 3 E's. He also criticized the core focus of 3 E's. He also criticized the core focus of 3 E's of traditional administration. Core focus of 3 E's of traditional administration. What he said? According to him, public interest and service remains. Public interest and service remains the staple core of administration. Public interest and service remains the staple core of administration. Right? What he also said? He also said that behavioral aspects should also be considered. He also argued that behavioral aspects should be considered. That the behavioral aspects should be considered. Fine? This is the how he rejected, this is the core part. Now other dimensions, as we kept telling. Waldo is criticized. Dwight Waldo is criticized for his ambivalent approach. Ambivalent means what? The kind of dilemma. Dwight Waldo is criticized for his ambivalent approach. Dwight Waldo is criticized for his ambivalent approach. Because what he says? On one hand, he rejects administration as a science. On one hand, he rejects administration as a science. He rejects administration as a science, but what he also says? But he also says that the pursuit for science of administration should continue. On one hand, he rejects administration as a science. On the other hand, he demands, or he says that the pursuit means search. He says that the search for science of administration should continue. So how are you telling that it is not a science and that yes, the pursuit should continue? The pursuit for science of administration should continue. Should continue. Fine, that is first aspect. Then next one, 3 E's even today remain the core of administration. 3 E's even today remain. 3 E's even today remain the core of administration, as implementation is the most important part. As implementation is the most important part. As implementation is the most important part. Then politics administration dichotomy is still relevant. Politics administration dichotomy is still relevant. Politics administration dichotomy is still relevant. Right? Yeah. So that is how you can, but of course you have to come broadly, you have to tell again, conclude. However, the conclusion part, however, Dwight Waldo's ideas provided Dwight Waldo's ideas provided clarity. Dwight Waldo's ideas provided clarity in the evolution of public administration as a discipline. Clarity to the evolution of public administration as a discipline. His contribution to NPA, gave a new dimension. His contribution to NPA gave a new dimension to the discipline. Gave a new dimension to the discipline.